Hillary Clinton spent quite a bit of time during the debate on Monday hacking Donald Trump for his treatment of women. In fact, of either of the two candidates, she was the only one who levied a personal attack. She called Trump sexist, racist, and crazy. Donald Trump called her Secretary Clinton. But here's the rub. Hillary's pandering to women. She needs our vote to win the election, and we don't like her. So she's trying to paint Trump as a misogynistic monster to scare us into voting for her instead. But the truth is, it's her policies from the past 2 decades that hurt women the most. It's her high taxes that make it harder for women to find jobs. It's her support of minimum wage that makes everyday products more expensive for us to buy. And it's her extreme stance on abortion that helps lead to Planned Parenthood aborting a baby girl once every 3 minutes. And it's policies like her so-called equal pay mandate that potentially would force women to make choices we don't want to make. Take a look.
Let's not assume that trade is the only challenge we have in the economy. We also have to make the economy fairer. That starts with raising the national minimum wage and also guarantee, finally, equal pay for women's work.
Joining me now is history professor and author of Obama's America, a transformative vision of our national identity, Ian Reifowitz. Ian, hi, how are you?
Great, Liz. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for being here. Before we even dig into minimum wage and Hillary's so-called equal pay for women, let me ask you, what did you think of the debate?
I thought it couldn't have gone much better for Hillary Clinton. Maybe if Donald Trump had vomited on stage, that might have been a plus. But I think she's pretty satisfied at this point.
Right. I actually would agree with you in one sense. I think on her own merits, Hillary Clinton did very well. She was very poised. She was very well spoken. She was very well prepared. She knew what she was going to say. But I don't think she did well because Trump did poorly. I think she just did well on her own. Trump didn't say anything really that grabbed headlines in the bad way. And we've seen him do that before, admittedly. So it's not something that's unthinkable. But back to her comments here. Like I said in the introduction, I think it's pretty obvious. She's even admitted it in a certain extent. That she needs women's votes. She needs the support of women. She needs women to turn out, to go to the polls and vote for her if she wants to win this election. And so she defaults to talking about equal pay for women in minimum wage. And Ian, this doesn't make a lot of sense to me. As a working woman myself, as someone who comes from a family of small business owners, I see what minimum wage does to small business owners. I see what it does to the economy in cities that enact this. And it makes it harder for women to find jobs. I don't think that's a winning argument for her.
Well, I've done a bit of research on the minimum wage, and I've written about it recently. In fact, your conclusion is not correct. There's some conflicting data, but there's no evidence that raising the minimum wage within reason, obviously you're not talking about a $30 minimum wage or even a $20 minimum wage, but raising the minimum wage within reason doesn't hurt job creation. And in fact, by putting more money into the pockets of people who are most likely to spend it, it encourages more consumer spending, which means more profits for business owners anyway. And we can get into specifics, but whether it's about men or women, in large part, raising the minimum wage is a plus for the overall economy, as well as specifically for those lower income workers.
In what city do we see this in? Because the exact opposite we've seen, not just theoretically in papers or in research studies. We've seen in Seattle what happens when the minimum wage is raised to what Hillary Clinton says is reasonable, and that's $15 or nearly $15. And what happens there is people aren't able to find work and business owners aren't able to hire. That's real life. That's really what happens when minimum wage is jacked up artificially.
Well, my research looked at Seattle as well, and I have to say you're incorrect there. In Seattle, the research of actual people and actual jobs showed that the job creation performance in Seattle was stronger than in the surrounding counties. Now, it went down a bit in all of them after the minimum wage went up, but it was stronger in Seattle than in the surrounding counties after the minimum wage went up, which pretty clearly says that the raising of the minimum wage did not hurt and in fact helped job creation in Seattle compared to the other counties within the region. And that's what the studies are showing, studies of real people, real dollars, real jobs all across the country.
Right, and if you talk to small business owners in Seattle, you can see exactly how it impacts them. They're not able to continue to hire people. They actually have to lay people off. But not only is that a losing argument for Hillary, in my opinion, so is her argument about equal pay for equal work. Ian, I don't see this as being an institutional problem at this point. I see this as being certainly an individual thing. We're all going to face, no matter what our stereotype is, our characteristic that's going to be discriminated, we're all going to face someone who tries to discriminate against us based off of some characteristic. unrealistic, but this is not something, this equal pay for equal work. There's studies that show that that is already the case. When women work the exact same position, the exact same amount of hours, the exact same experience as men, the disparity between pay is just 2 or 3 cents, not 79 cents.
Yeah, there's a lot of debate about those figures, and I have seen some of those studies that when you account, as you said, for experience, that the gap shrinks. I think it's still there. It may be more than 2 or 3 cents, but either way, I think we could agree. People of different genders or should get the same pay for the same work. It's probably a smart move politically for Hillary Clinton because it is something that people have experienced, especially older women who even if younger women today coming into the job market are able to get pay parity. These older women have experienced it in their lives. They know what it's about. They know what it's like. And when they see somebody like Hillary Clinton standing up for that issue, they see that Mrs. Clinton is standing up for them. Trump may not support it. So it's a political winner, I would say.
Right. Do you think that just makes her seem out of touch, though? Because, again, there are studies that show that women in our mid to late 20s, we actually make a higher salary than our male counterparts when we're single and have no children. And it seems like she's not even looking at that. She's just trying to use this talking point to appeal to us when, in fact, the only way to actually ensure that women have equal pay for as men to men would be to force us to work in industries that we don't want to work in, or force us to work hours that we don't want to work, and that's sexist.
Well, I think it's and it's an appeal that is generational to some degree. I think you're right about that. But in the long run, these women who are coming into the job market in their 20s and are facing maybe limited to no pay inequities. Sometimes the choices that they make are also the choices that they're forced to make. Now, I'm not sure that you can deal with that in terms of legislation. I think that's a difficult question. But at the end of the day, if it's Hillary Clinton saying, I want equal pay for equal work, even if that's going to help a small number of people, and Donald Trump saying, I don't want equal pay for equal work, I don't see how Hillary Clinton doesn't come out ahead. Older people have to vote, each get 1 vote, so do younger people.
Right, but I don't think Donald Trump has ever said that. I think he just said that Hillary Clinton's legislation mandating that this be put into law like Hillary Clinton wants, that's not the answer to this, because it isn't something that the government as a whole, the federal government, can take care of. Ian, it's always great to talk to you to debate these issues. Thanks so much for being here today. Our final tipping point of the night: which is more critical to America's security, the secrets in Trump's tax returns or the secrets in Hillary's emails? We'll be right back.